Well, that open and that song sums up the relaxed, beachy vibe here we have at Gulfstream Park as we groove into the penultimate Thursday card of this championship meet. Acacia Courtney and Jason Blewett, good to have you with us from our Paddock Set Studios on another glorious day for thoroughbred racing as we continue that countdown just 9 days away from the Florida Derby.
That's right. 1 week from Saturday, we're all getting excited. We have horses. Some will be working tomorrow morning. Strike Power, one of them for trainer Mark Hennig. Of course, we do have the Fountain of Youth and Holy Bull winners and promises fulfilled. And Audible also running. Should be a great race and a great day of racing altogether. Just
10 today. We are fast and firm. And again, Mother Nature giving us the green light for a just idyllic, picture-perfect afternoon here in Hallandale Beach. A good day to maybe catch some rays on this side of the walking ring. I would imagine, because it is a little chilly for South Florida standards, that most people will be hanging out on the side of our set. And we welcome everybody, including you, and glad you're coming along for the ride. And I think you're up next for Friday's Beat the Expert.
I'm up. I'm up. So any good picks I've had over the last couple of weeks will probably stop tomorrow, as is the curse for the Beat the Expert. But
speak for yourself.
Hopefully we can keep the good momentum going. My picks are already up. You can go to our Gulfstream Park website and check out the Friday picks there. I'll try to make a good showing for myself. And we love when you play. It's a every Friday event. It's free to play. You can go to our Facebook page and enter.
And that Rainbow Six continues to grow day by day. We picked up over 100 G's yesterday in terms of the carryover, and we'll give you a little rundown as to what's on tap this afternoon. The card begins a little after 12:35 with the first race on this Thursday, March 22nd, and that opening 50-cent early pick 5. It's tradition on this show. Acacia will have an early pick 5 ticket coming up, and then that opening high 5 gets underway in race 2.
It does. That's any race with 7 or more runners. And then the highlight, of course, is that Rainbow Six. It begins in race number 5 today. You can try to be the only winner and get that jackpot. $3.89 million just to begin. I'm sure that we will see a lot more bet into it this afternoon. But as we keep saying, even if you are not the one unique ticket holder, that wager can still pay very well.
And then we go full circle, very much the second half of this March 22nd program devoted to the Rainbow Six and, of course, the 50-cent late pick 5, which gets underway in race number 6. In fact, the first 3 races, the opening half of today's Rainbow Six, will be run on the main track, yet the first 4 races on the card will all be run on the turf. So this is a very much GP grass-centric early pick 5. And what'd you do?
All right, we'll show you my ticket, and I do have a single, and I wanted to spread in race number 1. I like Make Me Proud to potentially keep the good momentum going. That filly's just been in really good form lately, but I thought that this was a race that kind of an anything could happen type thing. So I ended up spreading, going 4 deep, because I did single in race number 2. I just think Blame It on Dixie looks to be the best on the drop in class. The last time she ran for the tag, 2 starts back, she was beaten only a neck, and she's never run this cheaply before for trainer Todd Pletcher. Going with 3 deep in race number 3, but Monterey Marianne was really good last time, and we'll see if she can put up another good race, second off the layoff, as her 3 career races have been separated by big gaps, but good to see her coming back relatively quickly, all things considered, and going to go with just 2 horses in the 1 Beyond Smart and the 5 Creaky Cricket in race number 4, and then the 5th race, the only dirt race in the sequence, using 3 horses in there. I think Untruthful Sonnet looks like it's go time for this filly.
If she can run on the dirt and translate that recent turf form, which has been respectable to the main, she'll have a major say in the outcome as she squares off against a couple of fillies who met just 7 days ago, Luch's Secret Pleasure and Antonio Sano's Sweet Magic. And speaking of Antonio, he was busy about a little over say 23 hours ago, tweeting out that his prize and our prize as fans of the game and Gunnevera made it over to Maidan Racecourse in Dubai in good shape.
And you can see I actually just retweeted the probable list of all of the Dubai runners, and Gunnevera going to try his hand at the Dubai World Cup. So we're pretty excited to cheer on him. And all in all, the Americans have a very strong presence there. Forever Unbridled, XY Jet, Bob Baffert's West Coast, just to name a few. So we're pretty excited to be able to cheer on all of our hometown horses. horses.
We definitely are, and Antonio's got 2 runners in this upcoming first race. In fact, we go with the field of 5, but Antonio has the number 3, who I picked on top, and Crazy for Sophia. He also has one of the outsiders in the number 5, Gift of Glory. Not an easy race to decipher, I think, among the 4 horses that are going to take play, from Make Me Proud, the number 2, Sly Beauty, my top choice, Crazy for Sophia, and the number 4, Ms. Mayhem. The interesting thing about those 4 main players is they all are coming out of very different races. They really have diverse resumes going into today's opener.
They do. That's a good way to sum it up. If you remember, I used 4 horses in here kind of for that reason. I think Irad Ortiz Jr. picking up the mount on Crazy for Sophia will bode well for her. Now, I think that she's best when she shows early speed. That's going to make life interesting for her because she has Ms. Mayhem right next to her, who has very much the same running style. I don't like Gift of Glory going 1 turn. She's a much too big filly, and just the way that she looks and the way that her running style is to go the 2 turns. But the number 1, Make Me Proud, was really intriguing to me. Not only did she win and get her 2nd career victory, which a lot of the other fillies in here have only won once, whereas this filly has won twice, but she beat the boys last time. And maybe 2 starts back, she didn't run as well as expected, and even the connection saying beforehand, you know, maybe she's in a little bit over her head, but she was only beaten a length and 3/4 that day. So the fact that she beat the boys and had 2 next out winners out of that race, including Roses in the South, who did go on to win after that. So I think that it's a very good race that she's coming out of, and especially with Louis Saya staying aboard.
And in regards to Roses in the South, who will try her luck on the main track here Saturday in the co-featured 2nd stake on the day, the Any Limit, she just outran the field in the Melody of Colors off their feet, and that includes the number 3, Crazy for Sophia, who I've always had a thing for. I like her pedigree, and I do believe if she can get herself in the game, she'll give second off the layoff a better account of herself. And we need to at least mention the Mark Casse layoff runner. In fact, the Casse barn has 2 big player, lengthy layoff runners in both halves of the early double today. In the case of Sly Beauty, she beat the boys in her turf race 2 back last summer up at Woodbine.
She did, and that was on a yielding turf course, so we'll see how she does coming back off of the layoff, and she faced Stakes Company against March Express last time out. With this barn, 180-plus day layoff with turf allowance, just 11% win, so maybe want to see one, but certainly the barn's been going well.
Let's move on to race 2. Barn's going well. How about trainer Todd Pletcher? Picked up win number 59 of the meet in yesterday's 9th race with the Rapoli and Johnny V reclaim, and driven by Thunder, who upset the big favorite, the 10-year-old Slim Shady, as we get on to Todd's filly in this upcoming 2nd race on the turf in a 3-and-up filly mare, $30,000 to $25,000 claimer. Blame It on Dixie has never run this cheaply, and I believe we're going to take a little step back in time via our spotlight.
We will. We're going 2 starts back to show the last time that she ran for a tag. And this is the race that I mentioned earlier. This was on December 20th. There she is, the number 6. I think she's got a perfect running style for this race as well. Here, at this point, Javier Castellano just has a ton of horse to work with as he swings wide in the yellow cap. And she's going to have some speed in here. You've got Oscura, certainly, who we know is going to send out. She's a great one, not slow either. But I thought this was a really big performance. If we can just freeze it right here, the number 9 in the red cap is Southern Sis, who does end up closing and just caught her as we let it go down to the wire. Southern Sis made that last move into the pace that collapsed, whereas I thought that Blame It on Dixie moved a little bit earlier. This looks like a perfect spot for her.
End of the meet's near. I mean, it's hard to believe the championship meet ends next Sunday on April 1st, and you wonder, with some of the Pletcher horses, in fact, a pretty large contingent making their way back up the Northeast to New York, their base at Belmont Park, you wonder if Todd might be dropping a couple, just maybe dropping horses that are likely to win, but also very likely to get claimed. And she certainly seems, this one, Blame It on Dixie, one of those likely winners, but also likely to be having dinner in somebody else's barn. Cassie's got the number 7, Dia, in the race. Mark Casse, that is. 6-year-old mare who has not run in 592 days as she drops into a claim claiming race for the first time.
August 7th of 2016.
I was still at Naira. How about that? Long time ago.
Yeah, she hasn't raced in a while, but she's faced the top company in this field for sure. She ran second behind 4-star Crook last time out, so we'll see what we get from her off of the bench.
All right, sounds good. As Tyler Gaffleone picks up the mount off the lengthy layoff, sat down with Tyler. In fact, we stood up and did taped it last Friday, in fact, the latest edition of Blues Clues up in our XBTV studios, and that is online currently for your viewing pleasure. Just a talented young rider who won a couple of races yesterday, and I'm really happy that he's at least in the interim for the spring meet. He's pretty much staying put here at Gulfstream outside of that opening week at Keeneland.
Well, we talked about it yesterday, just a really strong jockey colony throughout the winter, obviously, but throughout the summer as well, and great to see Tyler staying and building his career still.
All right, let's move on to race 3. 5 furlongs on the turf as we cut back. These are older filly and mare maiden claimers. Claiming prices are $50 down to $40K, and Jose Ortiz back aboard our top pick. In fact, a cold, you heard it here, folks. Heard it here first, folks. The cold 3-7-2 trifecta. I was like you with Monterey Marianne. Very much impressed with this filly by McLean's Music. Can you help me, please?
Yes.
Take it away.
Yes, okay. Well, let's go. How about we go to the replay? That'll help us all out. I thought this was a really big performance from this filly, and she had definitely, as I said earlier, had gaps between her races. She went from August to April of 2017 to January 2018, and this is the race that we're looking at. We're picking it up from the 5/16 pole because I thought Jose Ortiz really made a wise move. As we just freeze it right there, you can see she made this kind of big sweeping move up on the outside and moved early into the race, which I think as we let it go from there was very wise, as she did take money that day. In fact, she went off as the favorite. But what I also like about this is, no, she didn't win off of the bench, but she was beaten by Take a Stroll, who there in the green cap and the Reeves colors has really stamped herself as a 5-furlong turf specialist. She came back to win again after that, and third place finisher Wanda Girl also came back to win.
Oh, I definitely noted there were a couple next out winners from 7 to come back out of Monterey Marianne's last race. I can't say Monterey. It's not that hard of a word to say. I think I'll have an easier time, though, with the new face on the outside, the number 7. Whip me into shape. It does pick up Javier off a trainer change to Yvonne Belsour. And that filly, and clearly we like the 3-7-2 trifecta, but she looked intriguing just because of the fact she's a bit of an X factor here.
She is. She's dropping in class, too. She's been running against maiden special weight, and it's interesting. The only time she's ever run on the turf was also the only time she ever ran for a tag, and that was up at Woodbine, and she finished a really good third that day. She's got some turf pedigree, the dam won on the grass, and one sibling that won on the turf, too, and the fact that Javier rides, I think, is noteworthy.
And I'm very happy we are done talking about race 3, and best of luck to that McLean's Music filly in the third, and we both picked on top. You might be doing the Prattle solo today for race 3. Fourth on the card. All right, older 16K claimers ready to go. Again, 4 consecutive turf races to start the second to last Thursday card this meet here at Gulfstream Park. And in regards to the 4th race, I am taking the senior in the mix, the number 8 Mr. Online, who, although he's got a couple of 8-year-olds down towards the inside, he's the oldest runner in the race at 9. And I'm just encouraged with the horse who quite simply had been off one layoff recently, relatively recently, of 385 days, came back, ran once, and then was gone for another 476 days. The fact that he's run well in his last couple, and Jose Ortiz has saw fit to stay on him, I think that is the best sign of all, that today, he's just going to put it all together, third off those lengthy layoffs, totaling together about 800 days.
It's pretty crazy. Only ran once in 2016, as you said, and then came back in January of 2018. And he took money, which was the crazy thing. And I think the fact that Jose Ortiz had to call off such a big layoff, definitely you see the Ortiz brothers move the board quite a bit. He didn't show up in that first race, and then he came back at the comparable level, stretching out to the 2 turns, and he ran well last time. I absolutely wouldn't be surprised to see an even improved effort from him today. And like that he sticks at the 2 turns, as I think that's pretty much what he wants to do. Now, the number 5 Creaky Cricket was where I did land, and I think that he has a lot of speed, but is not necessarily a need the lead type. And he also does pick up Luis Saez, and last time out, he finished just a nose behind Mr. Online. So we'll see which one comes out of this race and ends up doing well. But again, I think Luis Saez in the saddle really going to be good for this horse, and we'll see if he can kind of recapture some of that back class.
That might really put him over the edge, and just in terms of his overall athletic prowess, his confidence, his finish, his strength, his seed, it's a pretty big move up to the leading rider here at the meet, who's got almost 120 victories, and a rare at that. Off the claim runner for trainer Kelly Breen on the rail. Speaking of the Ortiz brothers, you've got Jose on the outside and Erod on the rail with the number 1 Beyond Smart, who does start for a barn that's 6 for their last 26 first off the claim.
Yeah, pretty impressive. And first off the claim on the turf, 3 for 12 and 6 for 12 in the money in the past 5 years. So as you said, not a very common move, but does have success with it. And this horse with Erod Ortiz has some ability too.
All right, how about some ability? How about some success and confidence? It's all about Thursday's Rainbow Six. As we take a little breather, we're back after this quick timeout.
Pennsylvania, proud of our growing breeding and racing industry. Tens of thousands of jobs with a massive economic impact. Now, North America's most lucrative awards program will pay a 50% breeder award for PA-sired, PA-bred maidens who run first, second, or third, with 25% for non-PA-sired PA-breds. Plus, up to 40% in owner bonuses, 400-plus restricted races, and our program has paid out $30 million for the 6th straight year. Breeding and racing in Pennsylvania. It's a winner.
Saturday, March 31st at Gulfstream Park. Be here as the country's top 3-year-old thoroughbreds compete for glory in the 67th running of the ExpressBet.com Florida Derby. Experience this epic day of live racing with over $2.5 million at stake. Admission and parking absolutely free. Men and women, come dressed in your Derby best and win fabulous prizes. Visit GulfstreamPark.com for details. The ExpressBet.com Florida Derby. Witness the crowning of a champion. Welcome to your playground, Gulfstream Park.
About 45 minutes out from the Thursday opener here at Gulfstream Park, and you can see from the backdrop here as Jason and Acacia rejoin you on this live edition of Gulfstream today. It is a perfect day for thoroughbred racing. The weather just delightful, and the South Florida sun feels pretty darn nice.
Yes, we've been pretty lucky. There is a good breeze today. It's very comfortable. It's a little bit on the cooler side for Florida weather, so I'm sure the horses will be very happy today.
And let's make our bankrolls happy,
That's right.
shall we? What are we doing in the rainbow?
Yeah, I like that idea. We'll show you my Rainbow Six ticket, Magic 4320 in here, and I may be a little bit light in the last race. That's the one I'm probably the most nervous about. But we started off in here, probably Untruthful Sonnet, if she can go back to the dirt, as you were mentioning, but using a couple others. I'm just going to use 2 deep in race number 6 as we go on to the 7th race this afternoon. I like great reviews for trainer Bill Mott, hopefully to rebound and off a bit of a freshening, but using 3 horses in there as well. 8th race going to go 3 deep. You've got a bit of an interesting rematch with Marvelous Kitten and Proud O'Patty coming out of the same race. And then we really end on a couple of really strong races. You've got in race number 9, Special Event, who has won 2 in a row for Shug McGahee. And then the 10th race closes out really nicely. You've got Big Rock coming off the layoff for trainer Christophe Clement. I also used the Service Runner Pocket Change. I didn't include Mongo Nation just to keep it affordable, and that's the one that makes me nervous.
Oh, for trainer David Fox, who in fact has a 1-2 punch in the nightcap today. And it's funny, you're afraid of Mongo Nation, who you didn't use. I prefer the other Dave Fox horse and the number 4 French Quarter, who I'm anxious to see a little bit of a layoff with a horse who was so consistent and ran so hard like clockwork throughout the hot summer months here at Gulfstream. I like that they've gone back to the drawing board, freshen him up, and anxious to see what he can do in his return. But we begin the Rainbow Six, our opening race today on the main track. In fact, the first opening half, that is, of this rainbow on the fast main, as we have this 1-turn mile, 3-and-up filly mare, $25,000 maiden claimer. And you're right, if the 4 Untruthful Sonic can get back on the dirt and run as well as she has without winning, I might add, in her last few, she's probably going to beat the 3-year-old stepping up in Secret Pleasure and Sweet Magic, who I prefer slightly over her.
Well, this is, I think, Ron Nicoletti's favorite angle. You've got a 4-year-old facing a bunch of 3-year-olds in here, and the lone 4-year-old in this field is Untruthful Sonnet, and it's a big drop in class with her dirt form. Her last dirt race was against special weight at Gulfstream Park West. Before that, she faced maiden special weight back in the summer at Gulfstream. So on dirt, she's never run for this low. So that's my hope in here, that she's kind of just been knocking on the door. Armando saying, let's put her where she can run. The barn's been going on a good run.
And both Secret Pleasure and Sweet Magic, who squared off just 7 days ago, and I had liked in that race Sweet Magic a little more than Secret Pleasure. Neither one of them ran all that great behind the Dale Romans train 8-minute Ellie. But in the case of Sweet Magic, I like the fact that I just don't have to worry. She's not all that fast, but she can handle this distance. And if Untruthful Sonnet is a little overbet because of that good recent turf form, and she doesn't show up with her A game per se, getting back on the main because she's, I think, a little better on the turf, then maybe that opens the door for Sweet Magic to just grind away. It's funny, though, she doesn't get away from trainer Dale Romans, who's beaten her in her last couple with both Coach Rocks and 8-minute Ellie, as Dale and Luis Saez have the number 5 Fast Girl, who's taking that same turf to dirt move as the favorite Untruthful Sonnet.
And she debuted on the dirt and took a lot of money early on. She was very green, very unprofessional, very keyed up and nervous before the race, and she did show that on the racetrack. Didn't really seem to take to the grass, so they'll go back to the drawing board with her.
Don't see a ton of maidens by Alphabet Soup anymore.
No.
Good to have one here. We'll see how she does. The number 5 Fast Girl, as Dale is just, what, 9 days away from that 1-2 punch in the Florida Derby, and that includes his Fountain of Youth winner, Promises Fulfilled. As we move on to race number 6, and it's been a while as we kick off Thursday's late pick 5 on the main track for an older claiming race with the tag 6250. We'll bring up my late pick 5 ticket for 18 Smackers. It's been a while since we had a dated claimer in the conditions here at Gulfstream, but this opening leg, in fact, is for older horses who have not won a race on the dirt since September 22nd. I went with 3 in here. I think Luch Racing and Anthony Cordarolo have a nice complementary 1-2 punch with the speed and Hail to Victory and In My Father's Image. I also used the 6 Mitos y Leyendas, whose last, I think, Acacia, a big step in the right direction.
It was. I really like this horse today. I think he's a very solid gelding and just maybe a little bit of a tough one to figure out.
Singled and anchored the play with Jorge Navarro's Starship Reina, who I think is moved up even further. She looked good on paper. She's my best bet today. I was really worried about Fontanaza really getting her act together on the dirt last time, but she scratched. So I think the speedy Starship Reina looks solid in the 7th, and got a couple of Navarre runners who I expect to run very well, with the number 3 Spicy Nelly off a trainer change to that barn in race number 8. 2 favorites like most are using in the 9th. We'll see what we get out of Shug's Arch Lorena filly, the number 2 special event, and we wrap things up with French Quarter, the number 5 Big Rock for Christophe Clement, and the number 6 Pocket Change for trainer Jason Service. And as you said, a very nice late double. You get one on the main going 2 turns and a really classy crew of turf sprinters in the finale. But it all begins with race number 6. And who do you see getting the money here? Because no one in this race, to be fair, is in really consistent form, and I'm wondering if that's the main reason you took Mitos y Leyendas, because his last was pretty good.
Well, yeah, it was one of the reasons. It was one of. I just think, looking at Mitos y Leyendas, he loves this racetrack here at Gulfstream. You throw out the Gulfstream Park West race in October, came back, and that first race in February was actually very solid off of a bit of a layoff. 2 starts back, he hit the gate at the start. He never really kind of got into the race. He had some legitimate excuses. Last time was pretty solid and at a big price. He's going to be a shorter price today because he meets, I think, an easier field. And all in all, I'm just going to go on the fact that Tammy Levy's barn has been going well lately, that this is a horse that she knows very well and can get him ready to run when he's ready. And I think that that's one of the positives about the barn, is the patience. The rest of the field of what he's going to face, In My Father's Image, it's been a long time since he's seen the winner's circle, but I think the turn back should really help. And Hail to Victory, probably the speed from the inside will be his best weapon.
Oh, his best weapon for sure. If you like Hail to Victory, I think you're saying, you know what, I don't really trust anybody else. Just give me the horse who's likely to be running and gunning on the front end, because this is a race where perhaps if you're leading off the bend for home, you might just be in that number 1 spot at the finish line. I'm a little worried. Part of me says 3/4 might be a touch short for In My Father's Image. But his last, I do think, for me, the bottom line is if he runs back to his good effort just 8 days ago on March 14th, liked him that day, and he ran really well at 9-2, and he'll be a fraction of that price today. But if he can just replicate something very close to that effort, I think he's found the right crew in today's 6th race. I'll take him from way off the pace as a non-winning type, but a horse who's in and out for the most part, but has run okay. As we get on to race number 7, we're on the main. These are Florida bred, 3 and up, filly and mare, allowance, optional claimer types. We go with that field of 6 at 7 furlongs. Fontanaza, scratch from the rail. We'll wait another day to see what she can do. I like Starship Reina, who is just a major obvious player. She's got the speed, 2 good races off the claim for Navarro, and she has run well going and demanding 7 furlongs in the past.
She has a good record at this distance, and honestly, she's the one that's really aided the most by the scratch of Fontanaza, because I thought that they were going to have a real kind of pace pressure on the front end. As far as great reviews goes, this horse, her race 2 starts back where she broke her maiden at Aqueduct, I thought was very, very good, and the company that she faced. She came back, and you say, well, on paper, it looks so bad. You can see in the short comment that she did bleed in that race. She's been freshened up since February 1st and seems to be working really well at Payson Park. So I took the Belmont bandwagon in here with Jose Ortiz, and we'll see what we get from her. But going off of even her very first race back in February of 2017 here at Gulfstream, she ran really well there. So maybe it's a little bit of a South Florida homecoming.
Could be. She's a Florida bred after all by Lawal de Zanamo, and Dry Dirt also seems to be her best game, and she'll get that today on a sunny, fast and firm Thursday, March 22nd at Gulfstream Park. As we turn the page, we've got about 5 minutes left here on Gulfstream today, so let's move on to the opening leg of the final pick 3. Race number 8, 3-year-old fillies going a 2-turn turf mile in this $50,000 optional claimer. And I've had a little thing for Spicy Nellie. I think she's a hard-trying filly for the most part. She's by a horse I always liked during his running days, his racing days on track for Barclay Tagg in Beauchois, who may have a handful of horses at most who he has sired, currently running on track, and just wide to nowhere last time out. She's had a little bit of a layoff, returns to a high percentage outfit off the trainer change in Jorge Navarro, although I don't consider him to be most of his horses are dirt horses. This is a rare Navarro trainer change, it feels, on the turf, but that's not going to stop me. I'll take her with Javier.
And Javier aboard, I think, is a plus, and blinkers on to get back to that speed, which seems to be her best angle there. A lot of the trainer switches we'll see Jorge Navarro are claims, and those are very productive numbers. The first after the trainer switch, surprisingly not so much, but I certainly have no fault with her if she's able to show that early speed. And I hope that she shows speed, because that'll help out my top pick and my long shot play of the day, and Hazana, who not only did she win last time, I loved the way that she did it. And she beat a race that produced 3 next out winners with some solid buyer speed figures. Even the 2nd and 3rd place finishers came back to finish in the money next time out. You keep John Velasquez aboard. In the past 90 days, Michael Matz and John Velasquez are 4 for 10 winning and 7 for 10 in the money for an ROI of more than $6. I've mentioned this a couple times, and the fact you always see John Velasquez with a limited number of mounts, and the ones that he does take are usually live. He's
been terrific. Only rode a couple of horses yesterday, and one of them wound up winning the featured 9th race on the card, and driven by Thunder for his main outfit in trainer Todd Pletcher. Marvelous Kitten also makes a ton of sense. 2nd off the Armando de la Cerda claim, and was beaten by a town. That Beach Waltz who beat her last time, she's pretty good, and I would not argue with anybody that said, you know what, off that narrow loss to her, Beach Waltz is just far better, maybe not far better, but certainly classier and more talented than anything she's facing today in race 8.
It could be, and we'll show that race. She does come out of the same race as the number 4 in here, Proud of Patty. And Proud of Patty, surprise, surprise, the gray on the front end. And the short comment for this horse is that she steadied sharply early. She was actually a bit rank and kind of got herself into trouble. So I think that was the real reason for it. She moved early under Paco Lopez and then just ended up getting very leg weary. Here in the green cap, you can see, though, closing with really good momentum is Marvelous Kitten. You had a thin noseband on. She's going to add the blinkers on today. I thought it was a really big performance from her.
8-5 on Beach Waltz. She's pretty good for the Ramseys and Mike Maker, and perhaps a case of just being flattered against a more talented horse than she'll face today late in the Thursday card in race number 8. As we get back, speaking of late in the day, late double begins with our final dirt race, and we do go 2 turns on the main with this older filly and mare, high-priced optional claimer, and very anxious to see what the number 2 special event can do here. It almost feels like going in that Shug didn't run her in New York, maybe thought she just wasn't up to a talent level to compete with maidens in the Big Apple, but she has gotten her act together in a major way, and that includes a win going 2 turns, shipping into Tampa. Not an easy place to ship in and win in her last couple of starts.
And it was a 6-horse field at Tampa, but she sent right to the front to make it 2 in a row. She was the number 2 that day. As we're picking it up from the quarter pole, even you can see the jockey that day, Antonio Gallardo, had a hold on her to keep the pace slow. And if we could just freeze it right there, you can see they actually went pretty slowly, 24:48 for the first part of the race. And there she is on the front end, again, the number 2. And as we let it go from there, she was dueling with favoritism with the number 6, Glittering Jewel, who came up on the outside to the attack and was really no competition as the number 2 special event just continued to pull away. But I know you have a stat on Shug McGahee.
Showed some guts here, and one going away. Looked like it might be close, and it looked like it might really be a heated battle, but she won that race going away. Now, as far as Shug, this stat surprised me a little bit. Lowance Company with the winner last out on the dirt, just 3 for 23 over the last 5 years, and we pull that stat with a horse who might be in that even money range, 6-5 range, so to speak, but I'm still going to take her. Loved her dam, and I know her dam didn't turn out to be the monster or divisional leader I thought she might be when she was a 2-year-old in La Reina, but there's serious pedigree here. I will take special event. You, however, are going to try to upset Valid Victorian and special event with the 5 Follow No One, as the barn looks to follow their win in yesterday's nightcap with a 9th race score.
Rule Yourself won yesterday for Horacio De Paz to get his first win of the championship meet. And it's a really good barn, primarily from the Mid-Atlantic, but this is just based off of my notes. And sometimes I look back at horse notes or whatever it is, and her race last time, I said I wanted to see her have one, and I wanted to see her back on the dirt next time. And that's what she gets today, so I'm going to take a stab with Follow No One.
Come on, she's an Uncle Mo.
That's
of course
right.
You wanted to see her run back on the dirt. As we wrap things up, no dirt. Race number 10 will be run on the turf, and we end things really in style on the right foot. Classy crew of older 62K optional claimer turf sprinters, and there is some talent in the middle of the pack, and that includes the Christophe Comant trained number 5 horse in Big Rock. And needless to say, as this horse comes back off a layoff that basically goes back to Labor Day weekend at Saratoga Racecourse, Christophe Comant does really well with these turf sprinters who have been gone for 6 months or more. In fact, we had a stat, 14 for 52, batting just under 30% with that move. The big 2 in this race, and they don't have to run 1-2, but certainly in terms of respect and a starting point, Acacia, Christophe's number 5 horse, Big Rock, and the big win last time out, turf debut for the 6, Pocket Change.
And Pocket Change is really aided by the scratches in this race. Siding Spring is out, as is Moonwalker, who probably look to be the main pace components in this race. So that really does help Pocket Change, who has a lot of early speed. French Quarter is pretty quick. We don't really know what we're going to get from French Quarter on the turf. It is a bit of a question mark there with that surface switch.
But he's by Shakespeare, so in my mind it says he should be able to turf today.
He certainly should. He's 0 for 5 so far, but this horse, he's about as solid as they come.
All right, again, David Fox also sending out the number 2, Mongo Nation, as we just settle in another 10 race Thursday afternoon. Fun in the sun here at Gulfstream Park, and that fun undoubtedly continues with the one and only Pete Aiello. He's coming up next with those scratches and changes.